Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and as always, I am grateful you have joined us for another week where week after week I have the most amazing conversations with C-suite leaders, industry experts, because all we want to do is provide you amazing content so that you can navigate your challenges with confidence. And this week, it is my honor to introduce to you Paul Faronbi, who is a certified Maxwell leadership coach, speaker, and trainer. He has a passion for leadership and loves to mentor students in STEM. We're going to go there. And when he's not traveling for work, you can usually find him traveling for STEM conferences. And in his free time, you'll either find him in the gym or trying out new foods. Oh, we're going to go there as well because he considers himself an avid lover of food. He's a person of faith and believes that Jesus comes first and he comes second. So that's why he enjoys adding value to people however he can. He speaks to students and professionals around the nation and has a show where he talks with incredible people doing incredible things so we can become the most incredible versions of ourselves on the IncrediPaul Leadership Podcast. Paul, it's my honor to welcome you onto the show.
Deb, it is my honor to be on this show. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
So, to my listeners, I'm excited to meet Paul, talk to Paul, learn about his backstory, and share his insights with you. But when I was looking for people in familiar backgrounds to me in terms of the manufacturing environment, and oh my, he happens to be an engineer as well, and what he's doing, his purposeful work, I said, oh, I've got to talk to this person and bring his story forward. But he's got an incredible story and journey. So, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Deb. So you started off with it. So my really incredible Paul's mission, my mission is to empower young professionals in STEM to become the most incredible versions of themselves. So oftentimes I've seen in STEM, we focus a lot on the technical side of things, like what it means to be an engineer, a scientist, a mathematician, someone in the technical field, and then we don't always lean into the leadership side of things. And we talk a lot about the soft skills, but really I like to call them leadership skills or really life skills, because these are things that are going to help you throughout your life to be successful. So with my background is in chemical engineering, went to Iowa State University, studied there for 4 years, had a variety of experiences in some companies that you recognize, like interning in Nestle USA, did some stuff at Cargill as well. Full time, got to work for a few different Fortune 500 companies, and really throughout this and in college was really impacted by different mentors and people along the journey, and that inspired me to do more. So in college, I got an opportunity to start a student organization called iResearch, focused on getting students to do research, empowering them there. Got involved in the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, founded a nonprofit for my local one that was based off Iowa State University. And from there, branched into what I'm doing now, more on the national level, working with colleges and universities around the country, serving people who are underrepresented in STEM. So that's definitely my passion. Is not the only people I help, but the STEM community and then people in entrepreneurship. But I think a lot of that came from college, and then being really ingrained into Maxwell leadership, being certified as a coach there. John Maxwell being really, I think, the foremost authority in leadership. He's been doing it, I think, 50 plus years at this point. So being ingrained in that community, learning what leadership really looks like, and really the heart behind leadership. What they talk about is adding value to people so you can multiply value to others. And so it is my joy and honor to be able to just to step into people's lives and to leave them better off. So whether if it's something tangible that I can share, something that's going to impact them, or just being a joy or something that just brings positivity, because I feel like we're in a world that there's not a lot of positive things, positive people. Like there's obviously things that we all go through and things I've gone through even from this year, but despite that, just understanding my personal faith in Jesus, like I mentioned, I'm not trying to convert anyone. It's just that really the, just from the Bible, like anytime Jesus impacted people, they just felt so much joy. They felt seen, they felt heard. And that's what I want to do when I'm talking to people, interacting with the people, coaching them, speaking with them.
So, Paul, what an amazing backstory and so many accomplishments. And that's the reason why, to my listeners, I wanted to bring him on the show because so much of what he does is what we stand for. I mean, he provides a service, I provide a service, but we do it from a heart centered place. It is with purpose. You know, some of the things that I talk about is that I just want to help people. Be able to resolve issues and not have as many issues wherever it is that they work so they can spend more time with friends, family, community, or even with themselves. Because I've gone into so many organizations where they're working 10, 11, 12-hour days, trying to
Mm-hmm.
support the corporation in achieving the results. And ultimately, they get burnt out. And over time, they kind of wake up and say, do I really have the quality of life that I want? And am I making the impact that I want? So I appreciate you shining a light on that fact that if we can connect with anybody now, even early in their career, yes, work
Yes.
hard, go, push yourself to do more and more things to hone your craft, but don't lose yourself in the process. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
what you stand for as well.
Absolutely.
And another thing you said that is I talk about unleashing performance. So it's what can we do to close the gaps in what you call leadership skills. I have seen that you have some really great talented people, STEM professionals and organizations,
Mhm.
and sometimes you wonder why they skip around and they move a lot. Well, we work them hard for their technical skills, but then we are not closing the gaps on those essential or leadership skills to know how to influence, how to negotiate, how to communicate a compelling message. And then they get frustrated. And then you wonder why they lead. I mean, I don't know if you have seen the same thing in your work as
Yes.
well.
Absolutely. I think leadership skills really boils down to being intentional about it and understanding that it is a skill. So when I would talk with people, work with people, sometimes there's a tendency to think that leadership is a title and it's something that you can aspire to. And maybe if you're not in a leadership position, that you're not a leader. But that I don't think that's true. That really leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So you can see it throughout the world, throughout any organization you've worked with. There are people there that have leadership titles, but that doesn't mean that they have the people. I don't know if whether it's growing up, even in like working a cash register job, waitress job, whatever it is, there might be someone that's a manager there and you know that that person's in charge, but there's usually someone else behind the scenes that everyone's going through for advice
Mhm.
or when things break down or someone that you can rely on. And I would argue that person is really the true leader behind that's keeping everything together. And that's why a lot of times you can plug and play different leaders and they're able to be successful, not because of themselves only, but because they have other people around them that are empowering them to do the work. And that's really what leadership is about. It's less about what you're doing and really being intentional about empowering others.
Yeah, I so agree with that. But you know what? Yeah, unleash their potential because when you unleash their potential, the organization or themselves can achieve so much more. But I want to come back. When in the beginning of our conversation, you threw out all of these accomplishments, all of them you should be very proud of. But we kind of missed some transition points in here. So obviously, you're a STEM professional, you're using your craft, you're working in some amazing organizations, and I want to go there as well.
Mhm.
But like what propelled you into this area of leadership? Was it that, was it a gap, unsupported, or did you get to this point where you became the unofficial leader? What was that like for you? Because for my listeners, I want you also to recognize have you started rising to a level of leadership and recognize those based on the signs. So just tell me a little bit more of your journey from engineer into leadership.
Absolutely. So I would say engineers are not typically the people you see doing any of the stuff I do, especially in leadership. I think there's a stereotype about engineers being behind the screen, behind the scenes, not wanting to talk to people. And I would say, for the most part, that is very true. I'm not your stereotypical engineer. I think a lot of it came from even it came in high school, but I think I saw it more so in college,
Yeah.
even when you have different group projects and a lot of the things that I really take responsibility upon myself. So I've done strengths finder. Responsibility is my top strength. So usually I can identify things and know what needs to be done. And I would say I was definitely a reluctant leader at first because it's like we're just this group project, like who's going to take the lead on it? Everyone's looking at each other as like, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? And then I'll be like, well, I want this to go well, so I guess I'm going to lead it. And even like in my final project in chemical engineering, being able to lead the capstone project for that, I think being more intentional towards probably maybe my junior year, senior year, being more intentional in my leadership. And what that meant was seeking out different books to read. So was reading a lot of John Maxwell books, and then going to different conferences as well. So I think the conference stuff started to happen more after I was in college, because college, especially in STEM, it's pretty busy. It's can be stressful at times. And I'll be honest and say, like, for anyone who's in STEM, maybe you're in college listening to this and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm meant to be here, meant to do this. Is like, I felt that way. There are times my junior year, I was like, am I gonna make it through or not? So definitely want to take a minute and encourage you. You can do it, seek out help, keep pushing, you can make it through. So
So
I think, yeah.
keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so definitely in college, just seeking out different student organizations to be a part of. And then after college, just seeing opportunities that maybe other people had seen but didn't take a step to do. So the nonprofit I started, which really was an alumni association, it was a nonprofit at the time, for what the was Inspire Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. So it helps people who are underrepresented in STEM get their bachelor's degrees and then really want to go out to their doctorate degrees. And so me and another alumni at the time, Queen Cernarte, we saw that we wanted to stay connected and give back and continue to come back for conferences and do things there. And we founded this committee, and we want to see who else was interested in continuing to give back. So did that that was in 2017. I graduated in 2016, and we did that for a few years. And then I wanted to do more, wanted to connect and see if there are other alumni associations, reached out to like a regional hub, found out there was not one, and then presented the idea to them. And they're like, we love what you're doing. Would you consider doing this more to connect the other different alliances? So to date, there's like 50 different alliances. Each of them have up to like 10 different universities and colleges. So a huge impact, and definitely doing more, start to stay connected with them. So it's definitely been building on it, from being a reluctant leader to taking steps to start a student organization, to starting a nonprofit, to expanding a nonprofit. And then in 2020, I started the nonprofit that I'm leading now, as well as what I do at IncrediPaul. I had already been doing a lot of the speaking and coaching really for free, but 2020, everything slowed down enough that I had an opportunity to put the foundations there to start a business, really formalize things, and continue to build from there.
Your story is very inspiring, and I appreciate that. We're going to spend a little bit more time. We're going to come back to the nonprofit work because I want to shine a light on that. If there's anybody out there that might be of interest to support or collaborate with you, I want to put that out there. But there's so many things that you said that were common. Again, our listeners get to listen to you and I, excuse me, getting to know each other. I have a degree in biomedical engineering. I see you've
Oh,
got a
wow.
minor. And yeah,
Yeah.
engineering is such a grind. Another thing that you were alluding to or talking about was being a reluctant leader, and then it just built and built and built. And while this was early in your or late in your college career, early in your professional career, I'm turning my audience right now and saying, if you are early or mid career, mid late career, there is no time like now for you to raise your hand. And if you want to make the change or have a higher impact, step into leadership, feel a little bit uncomfortable, but also seek resources such as Paul or such as myself, or find a mentor, find somebody in your community to guide you. Because as a student of leadership, when you are ready and you are struggling, the people in your life will show up to guide the way, but you have to take the first step. And again, I'm so excited what you do, Paul, for that demographic. I sincerely care about those leaders that are up and coming. I struggled as a leader. I was a STEM professional. And yeah, I was a natural leader. I remember in college, We had this professional leadership organization, and we had a group project. And when they had to vote on a leader, everybody looked at me, and it was like, I never saw myself as a leader, but they saw
Mhm.
something in me, which is
Mhm.
another point. I'm going to throw out a soundbite here. You may not know that you already have leadership qualities, but you should be asking or getting feedback from close, trusted people. How do you see me? Where are my opportunities? And you may find the world sees you already as a leader, and then you need to step into it. So again, that's my little pitch here. There's more leaders out there. You guys have to just trust yourself.
Absolutely. Trust in yourself and trust what people are saying. So I think a lot of times humility is good in leadership, but you don't want to think less of yourself. But humility is thinking of yourself less, but it's not thinking less of yourself. And that's why you need to make sure that you're not thinking less of yourself.
Yeah. And you also said another really important thing, and we talked about Jesus and religion. I don't often talk about religion within a podcast, but regardless of what it is, it's a guiding light. It's a
Mhm.
purpose. It helps you to make the right decisions in your life. And whether you're a person of faith or just heavily involved in your family or community or helping elderly, people need to revert back to their humanity and what their values are. What are
Mhm.
their values, or what are those principles, or what are those communities that align with who you are as a person? And then really put a stake in the ground and say, I stand for this, or this is how I practice or I live. And it will help guide you through those difficult times and decisions, just like you, the purpose in helping those STEM professionals not struggle as much in their career. And whether it's grounded in faith or something else, finding purpose really starts giving you joy in the work that we're doing. And I know I find joy now in what I'm doing because I'm very grounded in who I serve, why I serve them. So that's why you and I are here today, because we're so aligned.
Absolutely. Discovering your why is it's a really beautiful thing. And I think sometimes people can get discouraged and like, I don't know where to start. Like, what is it that what is this should I be doing? I feel like everyone else knows what their purpose is in life. And what I tell those people is just to start to do something. Because even if you do something, you may realize you don't like it, but that's something you don't like, as opposed to doing nothing and then you have no idea.
So beautifully said. Now, I want to really also shine a light on your nonprofit. And while you have alluded to this, um, what you do, I would love to understand. Tell us again what this stands for, who you
Oh,
serve, and what is the impact of people that you have already served in this nonprofit. Because if anybody's out there that says, oh my gosh, that sounds so aligned to my values, it's very interesting, I may want to learn more. So tell me more about what it stands for, what it's doing, and maybe a story about who has it impact or how has it impacted people.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. So NALA STEM is the National Alliance leading acceleration of science, technology, engineering, and math. And so I joke and say that's a whole lot of words. So we shorten it to NALA STEM or just NALA. And our mission is to unite, support, and build community among all historically excluded peoples in STEM. And so that really stemmed, pun intended, from a lot of stuff I was doing with the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. There's a grant for the National Science Foundation, and really building that community because as a world, as we're global, we're diverse, and we're really understanding that as leaders and everything we're doing, the more diversity we have, the better it is going to be for everyone. Diversity of thought, whether that is on the gender side, on the racial side, even in age. I think that is the most impactful part, is really being intentional about diversity. And that's all the stuff that we stand for. So with that, being able to impact college students and professionals, people in academia. So the funny thing for me, being able to lead this organization is really mostly focus on people who have gone through grad schools, have PhDs. So I have conversations with people with PhDs all the time, and I have my bachelor's, and that's it. And they look to me for different leadership advice and how to build community, inspire students, inspire professionals, really cut through the clutter and get results on different things. And so it's humbling for me to see these people that went to school double or maybe triple as long as I did, but because I took the time to really hone in and focus on the leadership side, whether it's reading books, going to conferences, getting the certifications. And so this community is really special because it impacts a community that I was a part of and still a part of. And I think it's continuing to grow as we live in a diverse world, doing a lot of different things. We have a mentorship community that we offer completely for free because we know that we need that impact there. So the hope is to have people that look like them mentoring them, but even allyship is really important as well as we continue to progress. It is those people who don't necessarily look like you that can create a path, create opportunities for you, and that continue to make our world a better place.
So it's really cool. And for those of you who may watch this on the YouTube channel, you may occasionally see my eyes think and then start writing some things down on my paper because I am thinking about at least two or three people I want to introduce YouTube podcasters to help get your voice out there because what you stand for is so similar to other people in my network here. But
Awesome.
what I want to also do then is really, really connect you with people that value what you do. So when we think about the entry point of your coaching, of speaking and things like that, or what is the persona of the person that you've already done business with or would like to do business with? Because if there's somebody out there, whether you're a leader or a conference person or just a STEM professional looking for support, I want to align Paul with where you're at and what you're doing. So who's your ideal client?
Yeah, so I think of two people, but I think the one I'm really most passionate about is people who don't think that they are leaders, but they definitely are. So, and that might be someone who's already in a leadership position, but they feel like they've hit a ceiling. It's like, I don't know how to get more. I don't feel like I'm as effective. Or it might be someone that's in an individual contributor role and they have all the technical expertise and they don't realize how much more they can be inspiring and leading up with their own leaders as well. So I think kind of those two people, because on one side there's someone that they feel like they've hit their ceiling and they don't know what they can do more of. I think a lot of that with leadership, there's another L word that's really critical to leadership. I think is listening, especially active listening. I think a lot of times with leadership, it's easy to get caught up in having all the answers, but I think the best leaders have a lot of questions and they're always listening. Because as you rise up in any organization, you're going to be a little bit removed from the work that's being done. And you have to really rely on people that are doing the work to bring insights and bring clarity around what needs to be done. But then you as a leader are casting vision, what's the long-term goals and strategies. So there's that balance between having the vision, but you don't want to be so far ahead of people that it's just like you're taking a walk and you look back behind you and you don't see anyone behind you. So it's definitely that balance. So when I'm speaking, and I think definitely this year had been more intentional about speaking to young professionals and college students about what it truly means to be a leader and working on those leadership skills before you even have them, and understanding that leadership is a skill that can be developed. But then on the flip side, like maybe you feel like you hit your ceiling, like what can I do more? There's always something we can do with our leadership, because leadership is not something that is a destination. It's something that's a journey. It's a process. I'm sure there's plenty of people that were great leaders and they just thought, oh, I'm a great leader. I can stop learning, stop developing. I'm just going to coast. But there's no coasting in leadership unless you start to coast backwards. And so you can see people that have really accomplished great things and they're always looking back at what they accomplished. But when you're doing that, what are you doing moving forward? How are you inspiring your people? How are you continuing to do more? Because unfortunately, the way it is that you're really only, to most people, not to everyone, but to most people, you're only as good as what you did last. And if the last thing you did was 5 years, 10 years ago, last year, people asking, well, what are you doing today? Do you know me? Do you care about me? Are you trying to help me today?
So you're going to blow up my AI tool when I try to create video shorts for sound bites of this video because every other sentence was another mic drop moment. So I appreciate all that. And oh
Appreciate
my God,
that.
I feel like you're singing to the choir with me. And I'm, my brain is going here. Deb's brain is always going. I'm a busy bee. And I'm saying there's somewhere in there you and I should be on like the same panel discussion or something because we're going to like finish each other's sentences. It's I, and we were talking before the show. I used to use my tagline, I'm here to partner with C-suite leaders of today and tomorrow. And I found that for some reason, and I know they're consuming my content, I know they're consuming yours. There's a lot of people out there in that early and mid-career that want to do better, but are not necessarily committing yet to investing in themselves. And so I'm beating my head against the wall. So now I'm investing in CEOs and experts like you to bring insights. And if you believe in it, if the CEO believes in it, maybe I can start planting seeds that they can start developing the future, the leaders of tomorrow. And so let's start partnering with them. But it sounds like you've also found a way to connect with them directly. So kudos to you, but I still think there's some collaboration in our future here.
Absolutely. I would love that. I really love what you're doing. Maybe to check out some episodes. Incredible people you've had on the show. It's incredible what you're doing.
Yeah, and there may be some swapping or other collaboration. So again, I'm just going to turn to my audience. I know we've been providing great value to you, and I do hope that Paul's words have inspired you to, and if not yourself, think about somebody in your network that may be struggling that needs Paul's services. But just Paul, this is not a one and done. You and I, this is part of our building our network and seeing how we can help the STEM professionals of today and tomorrow. But this has been a fantastic conversation. But Paul, I want to give you the floor one last time to share any last thoughts for our listeners and ways they can contact you.
Absolutely. The last thing I would definitely want to share is really around resilience. And I used to talk about this a lot, but definitely focus more on leadership. But I think the thing with resilience is understanding that rejection and failure is inevitable. And I don't say that to scare people or to bring things down, but just to put things into context, there's no one that has been successful that has not failed. You look at the Thomas Edisons of the world that, yeah, failed thousands of times. George Washington Carver, thousands of times. And when you are failing, that is evidence that you're trying, you're moving forward. And really putting into context that when you're failing, you're on the same path as the millions that have come before you that are successful. So don't let your failures keep you from your successes. And I know John Maxwell talks about failing forward, but really crucial to that is when you do fail, evaluating your failure, understanding, is this something that I did? Maybe it's just the circumstances, because you can get into this process of, okay, I'm failing forward, but I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. You're not evaluating. You need to evaluate first so that you can figure out, maybe this was me, maybe it's just what's in the right audience, maybe it's not the right timing, but you can't do that without reflection and evaluation.
So wonderful words. And on that note, how can people get a hold of you if what you've shared today, the organizations that you lead and support, resonate and people want to learn more?
Absolutely. If you want to get a hold of me, IncrediPaul, INCRE, Paul, IncrediPaul, you search that, it should come up. But IncrediPaul.org or at the letter M, IncrediPaul, to connect with me on all my socials, whether that's on Instagram or TikTok or Threads. I'm technically still on X, but I really don't post on there anymore. But I think the easiest way is probably IncrediPaul.org, or on LinkedIn, you can search Paul Faronbi or an IncrediPaul page. A lot of different ways to get in contact with me. And then the nonprofit, if you're interested in that, is NALASTEM, NALASTEM.com, nalastem.com. Yeah, so it was just an honor to be on your show, Deb. I'm truly just inspired by what you do. I did not realize that you also had a background in engineering, biomedical engineering, and that, like you mentioned, that is my minor. A lot of stuff in the medical field that I'm just inspired by what happens there. But I'm really thankful for you and what you're doing, walking in your purpose and your calling, inspiring people around the world.
You've been an amazing guest, and thank you so much for dropping in on the show. I wish you well and continue success.
Thank you.